Welcome to another episode here at the Masculine Health Solutions podcast. And today we'll be talking about the famous Pumper's Donut, what it is, why it happens, and what to do if it does happen. And obviously preventative measures that you could totally take, to just avoid it, which is the best course of action in my opinion. But hey, if it happens, it can kind of work to your advantage too. All right, let's jump in. Are you actually ready to start making length gains? If you are, hit up detrimental.com and definitely check out the most comfortable penis hanger on the market. Now, this hanger has been made and crafted by an engineer who does PE himself. You can definitely check him out at Jelk2Gain on Twitter, and definitely check out the videos that Daniel Gray has on Jelk2Gain.com. Again, that's Jelk2Gain.com. And if you want to get 10% off the most comfortable penis hanger on the market, all you got to do is click MHS10. All right, guys, that's MHS10 for 10% off. All right. How is everybody doing? Hope everybody is doing fantastic. I hope you guys have been making all kinds of gains, slowly moving forward. As we all know, PE is a game of friggin' millimeters. Not centimeters, not inches. It's a thing that happens that, the only thing that you can do to make gains in this arena is to give it time, right? And time is the only thing and the most important thing. And that being said, obviously I've been talking to a lot of guys and they've been saying, hey, I want to make girth gains fast. How do I get more girth? In which I always say, hey, you know what? Awesome options that exist is jelking, clamping, and obviously my favorite, pumping. Why pumping? Because, hey, it's easy, you just stick it in the cylinder, you get semi-erect or fully erect. It depends on who you are and how you do it and your methodology, and the way you go about doing it. But that being said, I am a big fan of pumping. And today we're going to focus on something that's a little bit unsightly that does happen from excessive pumping, right? And that is the buildup of lymph fluid right underneath the glands, which gives you something that resembles a donut. Right? Also known as the Pumper's Donut. Now, the first time I saw this, I freaked out because I'm like, ooh, what is this? This looks monstrous. This looks like there is a tumor growing around underneath the head of my penis. This looks really, really bad. And to be honest, it doesn't look that aesthetically pleasing. The first time that my wife ever saw it, she was just, this looks pretty ugly, and she's the one that basically told me and prodded me into the direction of focusing more on girth-centered exercises, right? But when she saw that, she was like, ugh. And then when I saw it, I was like, ugh. I'm not really a big fan of this, and I want to avoid that in the future, right? So what happens is that over time, basically, you're pumping away, and anybody that's pumped, for probably longer than an hour, has seen this buildup, right? And this buildup is right underneath the glands, and it looks like a donut, right? It looks like a donut, and obviously it's just fluid. And once you get it one time, it usually kind of recurs a lot easier, right? If you got it one time and you're not doing anything preventative to, keep it at bay, it's just going to pop up again. It's just going to happen again. So it's something that happens. It's not the end of the world. It's just fluid. It'll naturally drain itself out, right? And, it just is what it is, and it comes with the territory. It's the same with discoloration. Any guy that's been in there for too long can tell you the same thing. Hey, you know what? Discoloration occurred, and I was a little bit bummed out, but hey, you know what? It is what it is. And obviously, if you guys do want to learn more about how to get rid of discoloration, make sure you check out the episode that I got with Daniel Gray, the second one, where we really dive more into that. And hey, if you guys want to learn more, definitely hit up jelk2gain.com and just shoot Daniel a message. He's got a full setup for all that, right? And, he can help you guys get rid of the discoloration that you may develop from obviously pumping, hanging, clamping. A lot of these things kind of cause discoloration, which, is a little bit unsightly, but it is what it is. Like I said, it comes with territory in the same vein as the donut, right? But with the donut, after it's done after it's already been naturally drained out, you're pretty much good to go and your penis will look normal. Now, in regards to doing how to use it to your benefit, I guess. Like, let's say you're pumping away and you get a big old donut, right? And you're like, ah, man, I don't want this donut. It's kind of whack looking. It's very unsightly. It's not aesthetically pleasing on the eyes, right? But since it's here, you might as well use it to your advantage. What I mean by this is doing a reverse jelq. So what you would do is basically start underneath the glands, right where the donut's at. Make sure you're well lubricated, and then do a reverse jelq, right? You want to push this fluid into the shaft of your penis. Imagine you're a surgeon, if you will, right? And you're pretty much, putting that fatty tissue that they use for, this is the surgery or the way that it's done, if I'm not mistaken, where they'll use fat grafts and put into the inside of the penis to make it bigger, to make the girth larger, right? So essentially you're basically doing that, but you're just using the fluid and you're just using a reverse jelq to kind of, get it into the shaft of your penis, and therefore reduces the actual donut itself. The donut itself, the size will actually decrease from doing this exercise. And a guy that actually was talking about this was Massivo Bros. You can look him up on Twitter at Massivo Bros. And this guy is probably the biggest pumper I've ever seen in my life. I don't think I've seen anybody pump harder or bigger than this dude. This dude is just ridiculous, right? And, I was reading in one of the forums, right, where he was talking about how he does this to basically, obviously create more expansion of the shaft of the penis so he can pack the cylinders faster. And that, it would just reduce the size of the donut, right? He would welcome the donut for this reason. And the guy's, gotten some pretty ridiculous gains. For myself, I started doing the same thing, right? And I really like the way that, I'm not chasing, girth above everything, aesthetics out the window. Like, no, I still want to make sure that my penis, is looking aesthetic. It's got to look good, and it's got to perform at its best. And if the physiological indicators are positive, then it's awesome. But if you're having trouble getting an erection, your penis looks all warped up looking, that for me is not optimal. That's not the direction that I'm headed in, right? And I find that doing this reverse jelq method, it's spectacular for kind of filling in the gaps that may exist, in between the shaft of the penis too, right? And you can also do your regular jelqs. The regular jelqs that go along down the side of the shaft will, it'll also help to make it all look more aesthetically pleasing and just for the overall health of the penis. And then when you go back into the pump, right, so you may pull it out, this may be your first or second set where it may happen, right, and it gets all warpy looking. It'll actually help to make it more uniform. And when you do so, right, where there may be air pockets inside the cylinder, those air pockets will actually be non-existent because you will essentially make your penis kind of balance the whole way through, right? Like you may notice there may be folds like halfway through, or in different places. Everybody's different, right? But in doing so, you kind of make it smooth in the entirety of the shaft, right? So it's something that's definitely beneficial. This reverse jelqing combined with regular jelqing is an awesome way to kind of use the donut to your advantage. But now let's say you want to be preventative and you don't want a donut at all. And, you're one of those guys that just wants to avoid it completely. The best way to avoid the donut, in my opinion, is number one, just pay attention to where you're at. And if you don't want a donut at all, then don't pump for high pressures and don't pump for too long. Like if you start to see a little bit of a donut develop, which is, if you're pumping, it's going to come with the territory, then you can always pull out, or you can lower the pressure so that, there is no more lymphatic buildup right underneath the glands of the penis. Or if you want to pump hard and you want to pump for a long time and you're like, you know what, it is what it is, I need to just find a way to completely avoid it, I would highly recommend using some foam tape and just taping about 2 inches underneath, or right underneath the glands where the donut regularly occurs. Wrap that top part of the shaft about 2 inches, right? Or depends on how much length you have. Usually I do about 2.5 inches for myself. And that'll just kind of keep the donut at bay, which is, what I'm looking for. It'll keep it at bay, but the other benefit that I want to talk about this, which is a great preventative measure, it also helps for the guys that are looking for more length gains. Now, how does this help for length gains? The reason I believe it helps for guys that are looking for more length gains is that obviously, you've packed it all the way to the top. And let's say usually there's a donut there. That donut will create friction, right? And you could put all the lube up in the world on it. But if there's still friction there, it's going to be difficult for your penis to climb any higher, right? Because, it's kind of causing that friction. It can't really move. It's just kind of stuck in that position. Now, if you use this tape as a preventative measure, to keep the donut away, but you have it well lubricated, it'll make it easier for your penis to be pulled up vertically. And the times that I've broken past like the 9-inch barrier, it's because I had the glands underneath, or I had the donut taped up. I had it under wraps. And I noticed that my penis was able to expand vertically a lot easier, right? So it's a 2-for-1 special, in my opinion, right? It's a great way to avoid a donut, and B, you will get more, in my opinion, more of that vertical stretch if you're completely packing the cylinder. If you're not completely packing it, you may not get the stretch, but you will avoid, any donut from occurring, which is still awesome, right? It's still a step in the right direction. And if you obviously want to have a more aesthetically looking penis, make sure that it's looking good. It's a great way to go about it as well. So I would highly, highly recommend that if you're looking to avoid that donut completely, that's probably, I think, one of the greatest ways to avoid it completely. Now, if you want to use a condom, that also exists as well. Granted, condoms can break over time, and obviously with the expansion and all that, it depends on who you are. I myself have never used a condom, but I've read about other guys that did. So it's another great way to go about it, right? Oh, and just in case I didn't mention it before, the tape that I would use is 3M foam tape. It was very, very comfortable, very soft on the skin, and it was kind of foamy, so it kept my penis very, very comfortable. I would highly recommend. It's just your normal 3M stuff. I don't think it costs more than $5. Definitely worth it. Now, again, you can use a condom if you want, right? A condom is always a great way to go about it. Or you could check out a penis pump sleeve. For me, I personally believe that the best sleeves are available at mattersofsize.com. Definitely check out the stuff that Mike Salvini has set up there. There's awesome products. They got all different types of sizes. Like he's got the silicap, I believe, which is just kind of like a blue cap that'll just go right on top of the glands, right? And it's a great way to go about it. You just slap that bad boy on and you're safe. You don't have to worry about any blisters forming at the top of your penis as well, which is something that's awesome. And any pumper can tell you that, if you have pumped at extremely high pressures, it does happen, right? So just something to keep in mind, guys. Just something to keep in mind. Now, that being said, the best preventative measure, in my opinion, is, just don't pump at extremely high pressures. That's pretty much the best way to go about it. Keep it under 10. I myself, usually I go around 7 to 10. So, hey, I'm sorry, but, I'm not saying that I don't practice what I preach, but what I'm getting at is that usually I'll get to about 10, I'll pack the cylinder, and I'm using a smaller cylinder right now because I still want length, right? So that's kind of why I'm in a smaller cylinder. I'm focusing more on packing the thing, and I'll still use foam tape, and I'll make sure that I'm very, very well lubricated at the top, right? But that being said, if you're looking to expand girth over time, there's guys that have made significant gains, and these guys have pumped as low as 3 to 5 as far as the pressure gauge reads, which is mmHg, right? And they've made significant girth gains by doing this. The difference is, though, is that they use a lot more time, right? So, instead of the workload or the stress on the penis being extremely high, it was a lot lower, right? But the duration of time was a lot longer. Or if you're just, a freak of nature like Massivo Bros, that guy, he uses a combination of extreme pressure and an extremely high duration of time, right? Which I would not recommend for a lot of people, but hey, you know what? It does exist. It's extremely effective. If you see the guy, he's been able to, that guy's filled some ridiculously large tubes. I'm talking 4-cylinder tubes, man. Like, that guy's next level. But, if you want to avoid that, you want to avoid anything too extreme, right? Granted, I hate saying this, but extreme results usually need an extreme effort of some kind, and your strategy does have to be a little bit more extreme. If you keep it mild, or if you don't really go that hard when you're pumping, the gains will probably be lackluster. It is something that in my opinion requires time, and I think I was talking about this before too, where I think the most important thing is to pack that tube. Right, if you're able to pack that tube, graduate to a bigger tube. If you're looking for girth, obviously for myself, I like packing it and then staying in it for a while. But the most important thing I think is making sure that you're packing the cylinder, right? You pack that cylinder and the girth gains will follow, right? The only thing you got to do is just give yourself time, man. Give yourself time. I mean, I'll give you a short story. This is pretty funny, but I was looking at my journal of pumping, and this is really when I started, tracking my PE journey, I guess. And I remember I bought the 2.25 inch tube, so that's a 2.25 cylinder tube, and man, I couldn't pack this thing to save my life, so I just pumped, and I would pump for hours on end, man. The only thing I gave myself was a discoloration. Right, but I was just, oh man, I wanted it so bad, and every single time I pulled my penis, it was all weird looking, all warbled and ridiculous looking. And then when I scaled it back, and I focused more on doing a combination of jelking and pumping, and I made sure that I wasn't doing more than 15-minute sets. You know what? I was able to make good gains, and obviously I was a little bit extreme with the time, and it is what it is, right? And that's how certain donuts would occur, and this, that, and the other, but. The most important thing, again, is just it's time and making sure you're able to pack that cylinder up for a long duration of time. And I learned that from a guy named Pumpra on Thunder's Place that you could totally check out as well. And I still think to this day, it's got to be one of the most important factors when it comes to increasing girth. Will the donut happen, though? The donut we were talking about today. Will it happen? Sure. It might still happen, man. But just know it's not the end of the world, and now you got a couple of strategies that you can use to get rid of it or to avoid it from happening. But if it does happen, don't freak out. If you just got to pump and you started pumping recently and you just got into it, man, you just got to know that it comes with the territory, right? Obviously, focusing on having a massive donut or just having a donut all the time isn't the greatest thing for you, right? But you got to know that, it does come with the territory, and it is what it is. So if you do get one, don't fret. It's not the end of the world, guys. With that being said, that concludes today's episode here at the Masculine Health Solutions Podcast. And again, I'm still trying to get my Instagram account back. So if you do need anything, hit me up at masculinehealthsolutions.com. Let me know. And again, we'll talk soon. All right, bye. And that concludes today's episode here at the Masculine Health Solutions Podcast. Again, if you guys got any more questions, make sure you hit me up. Like I said, I'm still working on getting the Instagram back, so you can hit me up on Facebook. I've been a little bit more active there because I'm trying to figure stuff out, trying to get my logins and all that back. So again, it is what it is, but you can definitely hit me up on Facebook or masculinehealthsolutions.com. Guys, I love hearing from you guys, and obviously the more questions, the better. All right? So hit me up and let me know what's up. All right, guys, until next time, stay safe. And hey, you know what? Summer is here, so let's enjoy. All right, guys, till the next one.